One of the most important skills that came with that, in the past 4 or 5 years, is realization that things take longer than you think they are, and that perseverance is the single thing that determines whether you're going to get it done or not. Don't stop until it's done, and just try. Don't stop trying.
You're listening to Ecomonics, a Debutify podcast, your resource for one-of-a-kind insights into the world of e-commerce and business in the modern age. This is Joseph. I'll be presenting a wealth of industry knowledge from interviews with successful business people and our own state-of-the-art research. Your time is valuable, so let's go. As always, when faced with information that contests or conflicts with what we learned so far on the show, it is vital that we run towards it in the interest of truth. George Vlasyev took a unique approach to e-commerce by way of print-on-demand and drop servicing. For his opinion on drop shipping, especially in these trying times, is not favorable. What makes this episode unique is understanding the method which one can maximize the potential for on-demand services. Similar to dropshipping in many ways due to lower product overhead, but also with a vastly advantageous lateral in being able to offer thousands of product options. If you're hesitant about jumping into e-commerce, and maybe the dropshipping model isn't quite doing it for you, here is another method worth your consideration. George Vlasyev, it is good to have you here on Ecomonics. How you doing today? How you feeling? How's the weather up there?
I'm good. Thank you so much. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good too. To answer my own question, the weather here is cold, at least I assume. I don't leave my apartment very much. and when I do, I'm 3 layers deep. So 3 layers top, 3 layers bottom, pretty much all the way through to like mid-May, just not taking any chances.
Nice. Yeah, it's pretty cold here as well. I'm based in Helsinki, Finland. It's -6 degrees Celsius here. So, yeah, it's pretty cold.
I'm going to ask you a question about that, but we have to start with, I'm not contractually obligated to start with this question. I just think it's the most important question to ask at the beginning, which is, who are you and what do you do?
Well, so my name is George. I live in Helsinki, Finland. And I do drop shipping. Well, I do e-commerce. I like to consider it to be more of e-commerce because drop shipping, I feel like it's a little bit of has a bad reputation to it. So I prefer to use e-commerce because it gives it a much better outlook. So yeah, I do e-commerce. I've been doing it for the past 4 years now. I recently started, about a year ago, a YouTube channel where I share whatever I have learned. And yeah, and as I go along my journey, as I make more progress, I just share it with YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've had the privilege, that word, I don't know, these days I'm not a fan of using that word, but I've had the distinct joy to check out your YouTube content. And the thing that continuously surprises me is that every time I see a new e-commerce channel, I stopped myself from saying dropship there, by the way, is there are unique perspectives and there's new things to bring to the e-commerce puzzle. So I'm looking forward to getting into a lot of that with you today. So one of the things is quick behind the scenes is that we wanted to reschedule. We were going to do this yesterday, but we're doing the recording today because you were moving into your new apartment. Am I right?
Yeah. Okay.
I
just moved in actually.
Yeah. So I can't see the boxes or anything, but I can only assume that you're sitting on boxes right now and your laptop is propped up on other boxes. And
I actually got myself a stand-up desk, so this is a
stand-up
big
desk.
Yeah, it's a big progress for me, so it's an amazing thing. Super happy about that.
I'm standing at an orator's table right now, like the ones people like university lecturers use. So when I do recording, I stand. If I'm a guest or if I were get into the 3-hour shows, then okay, I'm gonna freaking sit down for that. What compelled the move to Helsinki, Finland? Is that where you're from originally?
Well, no, I'm originally from Russia, St. Petersburg, but I became a citizen with 2 nationalities, so Russian and Finnish, when at a super young age, around maybe 10 or 8 when I was, because my dad got it, so I got it automatically. And ever since I remember myself, I always lived in 2 countries, so it's Russia and Finland. And I went to the military here as well. And now I bought my own apartment here recently, like this August. So now I bought it in August. The house was finished in October, and so now I moved it here. But yeah, Finland is a great country because it's the happiest country in the world 3 years in a row. It has the cleanest water, cleanest air. It's just a great country to live. Everything works, and in comparison to Russia, it's pretty nice.
Yeah, not to get too much into Russian memes, but there was this brief spell where I would watch videos of like dash cam footage of what
Oh
was going
yeah,
on the streets of Russia, and one of them sticks out where like a guy like pops his head out of a window. He's got wearing sunglasses, and he just flashes his pistol for like for like 2 seconds, and then he drives off.
yeah. It's pretty crazy there.
One quick question about Finland, and then we'll move on. What's the sales tax rate on Finland? Like, are the taxes high there in order to
Oh
pay for
wow,
a lot of the
yeah.
social
I mean,
programs?
I have a friend who lives in Canada, and he complains to me about the taxes there. He's like, "Yeah, man, whatever, the taxes are so high." But the taxes here in Finland,
Well, I mean, I'm in Canada, that's why I asked.
yeah, exactly. But the taxes here are, well, it depends on the what's it called, tax bracket, which tax bracket you're in. But it's basically you can get up to like 60%, depending on how much you earn. Yeah, it can get up to 60%. It's pretty intense.
Okay, I mean, it's a cost benefit analysis, right? Different countries have different offers, so some of
Exactly.
them you pay a high tax rate, but the water's clean, and others maybe you save on taxes, but people point their weapons at you on the road. So, it's
Yeah,
a
exactly.
yeah. All right, so let's dig into some good old fashioned e-commerce stuff, and I will do my best not to like outright say drop shipping, but I do want to get into like your relationship with it, because we've had some people who are very enthusiastic about drop shipping on the show. We've had some people who were enthusiastic about it. Maybe they weren't happy about AliExpress and they wanted to say use Etsy. They just felt better about using their products there. All of which is to say that when we're faced with information that might contradict or conflict with other information we've had, we always want to run towards it rather than just like, oh no, we can't say that. We don't want to like mislead the people or anything like that. So we're just gonna get right into this. So tell us about your relationship with dropshipping. How like at first it came to you, what it did with also your entry into e-commerce, like if how you got to the point today, how much of dropshipping had to do with that, and yeah, let's just unpack it.
All right, let's get right into it. So I started the whole, I wanna say, kind of self-development slash becoming an entrepreneur about 5 years ago. And it all started with me just Googling how to make money online. And then Mr. Tai Lopez popped up, and he sold me the idea. So I was like, you know what? That's great. So I bought one of his courses, went through that, and then based on his recommendations, I started doing like social media marketing agency, and then I was infected with the with the shining object syndrome back then. So whenever, and because I was still new, so whenever I saw something, I was like, oh, that's the one. So it went from social media marketing agency, then it went to a KDP, so direct Kindle publishing. I wrote a book on that, which is insane. Then it went onto a personal brand, I think. I was trying to do like fitness content on Insta. So it was a lot of trial and error. It was a lot of trying of different things, and a lot of stores, of course. And then I stumbled upon, when I was in the army, I stumbled upon drop shipping and selling, like e-commerce, selling things online. And I really, I really got hooked in the idea of selling things online and not having your own inventory or stock. So I really liked that idea, and I was like,
Mhm.
you know what, that is great. Um, so I started doing that, and I started listening, and I started just watching a bunch of YouTube videos, and it escalated from there. There was a lot of learning, and I was, like I like to think of this as the first three. So I've been doing ecom for 4 years. The first 3 years, it was even 3.5. It was just pure learning, like
Mhm.
100%. Every single minute, energy unit, and dollar that I spent on ecom slash drop shipping was just pure me learning. Okay, what is this gonna do? Like, what's the outcome of this? Okay, if I spend $100 on Facebook ads a day, what is this going to do? If I collab with these like pages on Insta, what is that going to do? What is this product going to do? And stuff like that. So I was just kind of like trying and seeing what happens. And so by having like, and these answers that came to me, they were like signals, right? And I was thinking, okay, like that's a good signal, take that. Okay, that's not a good signal, don't take that. And slowly, I started to build this web and like this understanding of how this whole thing works. And I'm still learning to this day.
Sure.
I sound like one. I sound like I sound so cliche. It's like horrible. If I'd be listening this 4 years ago, I'd be like, cliche turn off. But it really does sound like that. Like I'm still learning every single day now, and I'm facing new problems. Like whatever I was facing for 3 years has now been solved, but now I'm facing new problems. I consider them better problems. Like I have too much sales, and
Hmm.
I cannot like fulfill them possibly. I need to grow so fast right now. But where was I? Oh yeah, I was at this at that. I was trying different things. I was trying different drop shipping stores and landing pages and this and that. And eventually, um, eventually I made a store. I was like, you know what? I need to like focus myself down, and I need to like work on one store. If I just focus, I was all over the place. I was building stores like every week and stuff. I was like, you know what? This doesn't work. New one. And I was like, you know what? Let me just focus on one thing. So I focused and I built a store called citycaps.co. So this store focuses around dad hats and beanies with different designs. And I started working on that store, and then like my first success came from. By the way, disclaimer: I recently sold that store for $6,000, and I think it was October or something, end of October or September. So I recently sold that store for $6,000. But the long story short was that my first success came by collaborating with. There was this meme called Bongo Cat, basically these cats who were banging on the bongos, and there was a really big thing. And I didn't know that at the time, but at the time, what I was trying to do was I had a store, I had different like hats with different designs, and I was trying to promote them with Instagram pages, theme pages. Meme pages as well, and that didn't work. I was spending like $20-$40 on these shout outs, and it didn't work. And I was like, oh, frustrating. So instead, I don't know what triggered this. I don't know what happened, but I found a bongo cat page on Instagram, and I was like, and I contacted them, and I saw that the only thing that was posted on that page was that bongo cat, and I was like, so I found on the internet like a PNG file without a background. I put it on a hat in Printful. I did a mock up, and I sent it to that page, and I was like, hey, listen, I have a hat that your followers might like. Here's an affiliate link. So I created an affiliate link, promote it on your page. Whenever someone buys, I'm going to pay you whatever, $5 or something. And I remember I was like, yeah, whatever. It's not going to sell, because I was so used to that. If it does, I'll figure something out, how to like actually create the product. And so, and I remember and I did that, and I was like, yeah, whatever. So, and then I close it, and then I'm driving home from work at that time, and I hear the ka-ching sound on Shopify, and I was like, oh, what is that? I check on my phone, and it's a sale for a bongo cat hat. And I was like, wow, okay, whoa, what's happening? 2 minutes later, I get another sale. 5 minutes later, I get another sale, another sale. And it just showed me like what is a winning offer, basically. It showed me like, okay, winning offer, like it's proven to work. If people really want it, then basically the lesson there was if the market wants it, no matter how bad your website is and whatever, like people are going to find a way to buy it. And that was my first success. And then obviously, as you can imagine, I contacted other pages. I got all of them to post. Well, I tried to do it, and I did, I think I did either 13 or $15,000 in sales in about like a couple of weeks, which was huge for me at that
Hmm.
time. Like it was my first real like small success now, but it was huge at that point. And right away, I went to register a company. I was like, yeah, you know what? We're going to the moon. Let's go. But then the trend, the sales died, the trend died. And so, I had to incur some costs and stuff like that. But I did make a couple of $1,000s profit actually. Yeah, and I fulfilled the products in China, whatever I sent them. It works out fine. And then after that, the trend died and City Caps was out of sales. That's it. Like, I just did that and there were no more sales. And so I was thinking like, oh man. So I closed the store for like a month. I paused it. I didn't close it. I paused the store for a month. And then I come back to it. I moved to Finland from Russia. I come back to it and I was like, you know what? I gotta make something work because I was getting like, like one or two sales like each day before I paused the store. But I was like, you know what? This is not really like, this is nothing
Mm-hmm.
basically. But then I came back and I was really short in money. So I was like, you know what? I need to do at least something. And so I reopened City Caps and I told myself, you know what? I'm gonna make this work. Like no matter, I'm just gonna focus and I'm gonna make it work no matter what it takes. It was just like this kind of determination. I didn't even know where it came from. And but the thing I was doing is that I didn't have much money, and so I had to figure out how to make it work without like any money at all. And that's what I did. I started collaborating with pages. I came up with this strategy that I talk about on my YouTube channel where I was collaborating with independent artists, basically. And there are many independent artists. For those of you who don't know, and they have their own design, they have their own things. So I was just I was taking those designs, creating mock-ups in Printful, and then I had like the script that I was sending to them and attaching those mock-ups. And basically, people would see, they were like, "Wow, this is so cool," because it's their design, and they'd be like, "Okay, so what happens then?" And then I added that product to my store. I gave them the affiliate link or whatever, and then at the end of the month, I would send them a report, and I'd be like, "Okay, you got this many orders," and they'll be promoting into their followers. And the conversion rate was great because people who follow this independent artist are super passionate. They're like fans,
Mm-hmm.
basically. So I was basically like a manufacturer for them, sort of. And that was also a big success. At one point, I got up to $7,000 in one month, and this was better than Bongo Cat because there was a way for me to do it all the time. Bongo Cat was just one time, but this was a way for me to do it all the time, right? But it required a lot of work from me. It required so much work, and so I did that, and then I expanded into different marketplaces. I had a bunch of products on my store. I went onto Amazon, Etsy, eBay, and then slowly, just over time, the website was getting like up to 2 years of age as well. And I had many different sales channels. I had many different products. I had SEO. I had these artists, and then so over time, the website started to generate about like $150 in sales every day. Um, I don't know how it happened. It was just magic, but no, it wasn't magic. It was a lot of work as well. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna like because I had a better idea in mind. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to close this store and I'm going to do this other thing. But then my girlfriend was like, you spent so much time on this and energy, sell it. I was like, okay, fine, I'll try it. But I didn't believe anyone would actually like pay money for this. I really didn't. So I posted the website on Shopify Marketplace Exchange. I got a couple of offers and this and that. People were lowballing me. I almost sold the store for like $1,000. By the way, I've never said this to anyone, but that's
Oh,
true.
really? Wow.
Yeah. And then, yeah, long story short, this one guy, he messages me and he's like, yeah, I'll buy for 6K right away. And I was like, okay, let's go. So I sold that store for 6K. And after that, I started a new project. Very long story, but yeah.
I happen to think that people are going to really enjoy having you on their podcasts because I, for one, I got into podcasting because I like listening, so that was a lot to listen to, and
Right.
took down a bunch of notes. Just to, I guess because we're on the narrative through line, I do know that your next project was, and forgive me if I get like it was like get Swiftized
Yeah,
or
it's called
get Swifty,
turnschwifty.com.
turnswifty.com. And it has some similarities in that there is it's art based, and it's also a print on demand, and I also know that where with City Caps it sends physical products, so there is the um, the manufacturing cost. whereas this one is just sending the digital material, so you just have to pay the artist to do it. And I think you also sold that one too, right?
Yeah, I sold Turn Swifty. The crazy story. I started Turn Swifty in end of August, September. I burned. Well, I didn't burn. I scaled it super fast with Facebook ads. I got up to like 30K in like 2 or 3 months with Facebook ads, and then I sold that store.
So sorry, you were spending 30K in Facebook ads?
No. I got up in sales to 30K, and I don't remember how much I spent on Facebook ads. To be honest, there was like two different ad accounts and stuff. But yeah, I sold that store for $9,500 as well. I have a couple of videos on my channel talking about that as well, basically like explaining everything.
And for that reason, I of course recommend to our audience to head on over to the YouTube videos so that they can check those out more in depth. But having listened to your story, I wrote down a couple of things that I wanted to point out about it. So one of them is that you were saying like, oh, "How is this working? It must be magic." And I was thinking, okay, well, it's maybe like alchemy more than magic, where you're taking the different elements and you're putting them together. I was wondering about, so it seemed like you kind of had like a good flow going where you found something that was, so the thing about memes is that they're highly relevant for a very and short but intense amount of time. And then, well, some of them, I don't know, some of them stick around. Like, I don't know if you ever remember this meme, but the giant enemy crab meme.
No.
Yes, yeah, exactly. See, at that time, I thought memes would last forever. So I named my company Giant Enemy Company. And as time goes on, people are like, so once in a while, somebody's like, "Dude, I know what you're talking about." So as you're describing to me, here's what I thought you were doing, and maybe it is, but the success had varied. Where you reached out to like the bongo cat people with the bongo cap, their audience took to it. So did you try to find other memes or other images and then reach out to whatever communities were highly into that? God, the first one popped into my head was Ugandan Knuckles, and I really shouldn't be bringing that one up. So,
Yeah, obviously. I mean, of course I tried. I was like, okay, this works. Maybe something similar is going to work, but nothing worked. Like literally nothing worked. I was just spending a lot of time and energy with no return.
that surprises me. I got to be honest, because I'm not sure what it is about Bongo Cat in particular that was going so well that, like, all these other, I don't know, I can't fathom it, but you've obviously had a lot more time into it to figure it out. So,
Bongo Cat was not monetized at the time. It
okay.
had a very big following, and they were offering, no one was offering merch or anything like that. It was basically finding gold, because the audience was golden. It was not monetized, and they were super passionate. And then, like, I tried finding other memes, but that didn't work. And when I did find that, it was when I figured out that these independent artists, I can do it all the time. It's kind of like an untapped audience, and that's also very important if someone's going to do that kind of collaboration strategy.
That makes sense. It's not monetized, but still has a lot of activity. Hard to get your hands on those, but it's
Yeah,
what you're describing is a lot like what a prospector is doing, where a prospector is, or fishing. You have the mechanism in place to find success, and then when you catch the fish or you find the gold, you find it and you're ready for it. It was funny too because you were saying like you were going from like not a heck of a lot of sales, and then all of a sudden you're driving home, ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching.
yeah,
And it reminded me, not from a personal experience or anything, at least not yet, but it reminded me of like this commercial I saw way back in a kid. And it was actually really like the first time that I understood that success can be intimidating as much as failure can be intimidating. Because it's a commercial, a bunch of like developers are hanging around a computer, they're waiting for the sales to roll in, and one guy's got like a brown paper bag on him because he's gonna like hallucinate if he does get any sales. Well, they get their first sale, and everybody's relieved. And one guy like jokingly takes a brown paper bag from him, and then it happens again and again and again and again and again and again, and it starts like
yeah,
just starts rolling in. The guy grabs his paper bag back, and I never thought about it before until that commercial where you think, well, hang on a second, like success can actually like be a whole other swath of problems as well as well not succeeding.
yeah, yeah. That's something that I'm facing now. As I said earlier, for 3 years I was facing the problem where I didn't have like any sales. I was trying to figure out basically how to make sales profitably. And now, for most people, it's probably going to sound like, oh, that's not a problem, man. But like, it's kind of a problem right now where I'm having way too many sales every day, and now I need to get. Then I was not ready for it. And now I need to get my operational side of things, what's it called, up to the part, or whatever
Up
the
to
phrase
par.
for that is. Yeah, up to par. So, um, yeah, now I get like, I'm at around like $2,500 of sales a day. So now I need to be able to process all of that, and it's pretty hard. It's a whole different other animal, but it's probably a good problem to have. So by no means I'm complaining. I'm just I'm happy, and I'm just figuring out problems as they come along.
Fantastic. Here's something else that I wanted to touch on too. This is earlier on in your story, but it was Ty Lopez. I guess you saw like
Yeah,
his YouTube ad, and I'm guessing that you saw an ad where like he's walking around his garage, or he's like,
absolutely,
yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
the man's got his brand. Now, I don't know him. I haven't viewed any of his material. I have like seen bits and pieces of an interview that he did, and so I have no reason to doubt his legitimacy. And like you obviously got some good value out of it. So what I would like to actually is just like stop there for a moment and just ask about like what was going through your mind when you saw him. Did you have any prior preconceived notions about what someone in his position, like with what legitimacy they have, and how you walked away from the experience feeling like you really got your value out of it?
Yeah. So before I saw that, there was nothing that really triggered anything in me. I like to think of it as, before that, I felt a lot like entitled a lot. I thought that life just gonna bring me goodies because I am the way I am. I was born to a right family or whatever. But then, like, that guy is so good at talking. And, he really over the internet was able to explain to me, like, you are not entitled, like, if you want to be super rich, whatever, you need to like work and deserve that and all of that. And, a lot of people bash on Ty and they say, like, oh, he's a scammer, whatever. But, my opinion, honestly, is that, um, I mean, that guy really revolutionized my life. It's in a good way, because he really got me to like think, observe things, get into self development, become like conscious about things, and um, yeah, it all started from there. I come from a family that we read books. I was always around like reading books and stuff, but I never really liked it myself. I was like, what's the point of reading books? You can just get the internet, like all over the internet and stuff, because I'm young and stuff. But then like he's like, yeah, you can get info on the internet, but reading stimulates the brain. And I was like, oh, okay, no one told me that before. And it was just a whole thing. And yeah, man, I love that guy. I appreciate him a lot. And he really got me started on the whole self development and like online thing. And it all started from there. I can't say, like, I always thought about this, like, I can't attribute all of my success to him, right? But I can attribute a big part of it to him because for some reason he really he hit a nerve in me that got me started. I remember I started like waking up early in the mornings and stuff, taking cold showers, going to the gym early and reading books. I ordered a bunch of books. It was just crazy for some reason. That 67 step program, yeah, it really like really changed my life.
67 steps.
Yeah, it's called 67 Steps. He has this program. I went through it actually twice. It's a great thing. It's just him sitting in front of a camera and he just talks about different subjects. People bash on him and say he's a scammer and whatnot. He just gets you internet. But the thing is, whatever it is, right? He might be selling air, he might be selling knowledge, whatever. But that guy is so smart. You cannot make that up. You cannot make up
Mm-hmm.
the fact that he just has it in him. He's just super smart. Obviously, he read so many books, and you can hear that the way he talks. He has great knowledge, and it's amazing. It's just you're basically in 67 steps. You're basically listening to a guy who is super smart. He's educated, like he read a lot of books, and he just tells you whatever he learned. He digested that information. He's like, okay, you know what? I've learned that this is important. He's not telling you that this is the recipe of success, as some people are like, oh yeah, there's no recipe to success, and he sells that, but he's not really selling that. he might present it like that, but obviously he's a marketer. But at the end of the day, he basically just teaches what he knows, and I think he's a super smart guy. I would love to meet him.
When I'm going through material to prepare for guests, I'm not going to say who, but I have seen some reviews or some feedback that some of the previous guests have had, and they get called scammers. People talk about the dropshipping or e-commerce in general; they think that's a scam. People call banking a Ponzi scheme. They call like economics in general like a big scheme. And I mean, if we really want to like circle all the way down into the very bottom of the barrel, we could just say that life is a scam because we're all going to die. At a certain point, you just have to like get up and start making choices and try to do the best you can with whatever information is coming your way. And even just listening to you give me some very brief takes that he's provided has actually like made me realize a couple of things just now, which is that reading stimulates the brain. And me, I'm a big media guy. Like I work in media. I listen to a lot of media. And what I've noticed, and what I'm willing to admit as an issue, is that listening and viewing content does tend to hit the dopamine reward center a lot easier because media can sound good, it can look good, it can be pleasing to listen to. And I certainly don't want to discourage people from from listening to content, but I've always made peace with the idea that like no one episode of any show or movie or even documentary for that matter is going to really change too much, but it's communication. It hits that nerve. It gets people started. It gets people motivated to go look into something. But reading is just text on a page. Like it doesn't feel great to read. It's a mental exercise, and so reading is a much more refined way to get the brain to really work out, in the morning or in the evening or whenever. So I noticed that like reading in the evening towards bed is really one of the best times because it actually is tiring. It takes energy to do. And so whatever energy we have left in our mind at the end of the day, we can expend absorbing knowledge and then boom, shut the book off to bed we go. So that's a really valid point.
Yeah, and I remember the first time I really felt it was when I ordered my first batch of books, and I didn't know. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna give it a try. I was super blind. I was super naive. I was like, all right, whatever people say that's important, I'll give it a try. And then some people say like you need to read for at least an hour. So I sat down and I was like, ugh, my mind was all over the place. And then at some point, about like 20 minutes in, something changes, some chemistry happens, and you feel like your brain starts to get stimulated. You get these ideas, they start to fire like from all over the place. And I was like, wow. And when I felt that, I was like, ooh, that's nice. You know what I mean? And then I started to really like practice that a lot.
I haven't looked at my reading list for. I mean, number one is the Bible, and then after that, I don't know. We'll see where I go from there. All right. So throughout your story, you talked about PopCap. I just want to make sure I got it right. CityCap. Sorry, I don't know why. I know there's a thing called PopCap. I don't know where I got that from. So CityCap, and I think this is what is referred to as drop servicing, or is it more in the lines of just like print on demand?
Yeah. So citycaps.co was 100% print on demand drop shipping.
Drop shipping. Okay. So you still count it as drop shipping because it still sends a product to a customer.
Yeah, because it was physical product. And then turnshifty.com was a mix of drop servicing and print on demand.
Okay, great. So I wanted to ask you about drop servicing because we've touched on it in the past, but this is a field that you know rather well. So how did you come across drop servicing in particular? What's your take on it and what are you up to with it these days?
Okay, first off, I'm a huge fan of drop servicing. Not many people talk about that, but right now that's like my life basically. I came across an ad in my Insta feed for turnedyellow.com. Guys who turn people into Simpsons characters.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I've seen those.
What they like to say is that they create yellow avatars, but come on.
Yeah.
You got to do it for the copyright. So when I saw that, my mind was trained enough to see an opportunity there. That's how I like to think about it. If I saw that ad a year ago, I'd just be like, oh, that's pretty cool. But my mind was at a place where I was ready to see that opportunity. So I was like, wow, that's so cool. And right away, like in just a matter of a couple of seconds, I understood that, like, I knew the whole process. Okay, they're running an ad to Shopify, they're getting that sale. Okay, it's a digital product. They have an artist, freelancer creates, bam, off to the customer, and then they offer an upsell and print on demand upsell. And just kind of like sparked, and I was like, wow, okay, that's what I want to do. And then I started researching about it, started, seeing the prices and this and that. And I first wanted to do like superheroes, but I was thinking about how I'm going to target that with Facebook ads. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I need a single like targeting on Facebook. So I started looking into Family Guy, and I was like, nah, Family Guy looks boring. And then I saw Rick and Morty. I was like, ooh, that looks pretty cool. So I started doing that. But now, if anyone asks me, I would not recommend doing that because you don't want to be involved with copyright and stuff. I don't know how Turn Yellow does it. I really don't. But people from Rick and Morty, they're looking out for you. Trust me. If anyone does it, they know you, and they're going to tell Facebook, that guy is doing something we don't like. And Cartoon Networks obviously spends much more money on Facebook than any drop servicer or any drop shipper. So Facebook is going to be on the side of Cartoon Networks, obviously. But yeah, that's how I came across this idea. It really triggered me, and I thought that I can do the same thing. I did a completely similar thing. I hired a web developer in Fiverr, and I said, hey, listen, you see this website turn yellow? Create me an exact copy of that, literally. And he was like, okay, it's going to be $100, whatever. I'll be like, cool. So I paid him $100, and he created an exact copy with all of the buttons and this and that. And yeah, that's how I got Turn Swifty, and then I started running Facebook ads to it.
Okay, and then having after sold that, are you doing any of your new projects also within the realm of drop servicing?
Yes. So my new project, which I have right now going at 2.5K a day, is a very similar. I can't reveal it yet, by the way. I don't want
Of
to
course.
reveal it just yet. But it's a very similar thing. Everything that I said, it's very similar to Rick and Morty, kind of that custom illustration. I talk a lot about that on my channel, by the way, for anyone listening who wants to see it, check it out. But it's a custom illustration. It's drop servicing on the front end, so digital illustrations, and then on the back end, it's print on demand. So we offer to print that illustration once a customer has received a digital illustration. And man, it's the best opportunity right now, honestly.
And conversely, what I'm doing right now, and I'm happy to be open about it, just because it's, for me, this particular store really is supposed to be more of like a learning experience for me. So I have no problem saying what it is, and I'll also explain why I'm bringing this up too, because I want to ask you about the opposite side of it, is like the state of drop shipping right now. So my store, I'm selling, you guys, maybe some of you have seen it, because I think this product has hit that saturation point. Is these drawers that you can stick to the underneath your desk, so you get like additional drawers. I like it. I just got mine in the mail yesterday, so I'm looking forward to what I can pull off with it. And my product is being drop shipped from AliExpress. Ordered it 3 weeks ago, so not great shipping times. I've seen from your content, you've gone on record to say that right now, dropping from AliExpress, not such a good idea. And in the interest of like running right towards the information that contests what I'm doing right now, I'm about to pole vault right into this, and hopefully don't get clotheslined by the bar. So what's going on with AliExpress? What could I do instead?
Man, the pandemic, I'm telling you, like, you know how to say AliExpress dropshipping is dead. Well, as cliche as it sounds, but it is. Like, maybe before, when the shipping times were 10 to 12 days from China to US, it was fine. I always like to say this, like, treat your customers the way you would like to be treated. It's as simple as that. Like, ask yourself, okay, my shipping times are 3 weeks. Would I be happy waiting for my product at 3 weeks if I'd order from a store? My answer is no. And I would assume that many people would say no. So if that's the case, well, don't do it. It's as simple as that. And right now, the shipping times from AliExpress are super long. 3, 4, 5, crazy. So I don't know. I really don't dig that whole AliExpress drop shipping thing. Shipping times are long. You don't have control over the quality of the product, and you're just reselling items, just having a little markup on it. And I don't know. No. When I first started drop shipping from AliExpress, that was kind of the only thing I knew, and everyone was talking about it. So I was like, yeah, that's the way you're supposed to do it. So I was like, but I in the back of my mind, I really didn't like the idea of just reselling these little items, because I was like, what's the value here? Like, how am I creating value? And that's one of the reasons when I saw this opportunity with these custom illustrations, I was like, okay, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one, because you are actually creating real value. Um, and that really clicks in my mind. In my mind is that you attract money if you create something for other people, right? You're serving other people. And here, if you're creating a custom illustration for a person, you're actually doing something. You're creating a product or whatever, an illustration that did not yet exist anywhere in the universe. And, you're making a person happy. And that really makes the person, happy. It brings value to him. And this, in my mind, is okay to receive monetary exchange and monetary benefits for that. And it works a lot better than AliExpress, what I do right now. It's really good. If someone is listening to this and you're like looking for an idea to start ecom, trust me, these custom illustrations, it's a very untapped thing right now.
Yeah, I'm wondering like what route I would go with that. Maybe talk a couple of my friends into doing like a Dragon Ball Z version, like Akira Toriyama, stuff like that. Okay, so I do want to respond to it too, because I think you raised some valid points, but I also want to balance this out. So the reason why I picked those drawers is because I really do like that product. I like the idea of like trying to optimize my working space. I have like a stack of papers on my desk right now. I would rather have a drawer underneath my desk. I can pull it up, put the papers in there, put them away, clean up, feng shui. So for me, product part of it is resolved in my mind. I like this thing. Now, as for am I doing customers a favor by selling it to them at a markup? That's a really good point. So here's what I'm going through my mind to try to make sense of it. And I'll tell you a story. So, for those of you, you can't see, we are moving towards video. We're getting there. I'm wearing these arthritis gloves, and I have no problem calling these guys out. By the way, they're called the onecompress.com. Still in business. I've supported them a couple of times, and they sell these gloves at a markup of around $20, and then you got shipping. I went onto AliExpress. I found these gloves. They're like $3 plus shipping. So I ordered $20 worth. I've got like 4 of them on the way. Now, I'm more astute in this because I'm in the e-commerce space. I'm understanding how this works, and I've lifted beyond the veil, and I'm seeing what's the wizard behind that's controlling Oz. So not everybody has that. But to the credit of OneCompress, without them, I never would have discovered the product in the first place. I wouldn't have known that it exists. So in my mind, I think the value that I'm bringing is in the marketing. It's showing the customer something that they haven't seen before. They're not going to see it in Staples. They're not going to think to look for it. And I feel like I'm doing them a favor by showing them the product because I think it would be good for them. Anybody who's got a desk can stand to have a few extra drawers.
Right. Yeah, you have a good point here. You have a good point for sure that basically people like the value here is for the people that they're discovering new products that can add value to their life. But it might be a job of the person who created that product in the first place. You know what I mean? And plus, also, when I was thinking about this, is that if you create a drop shipping store where you have items that can be bought for 4 or 3 times cheaper, just one click away. Yeah. I don't know. I cannot justify it in my head. Right now what I'm selling, it's 100% justifiable in my head. But when it's like that, it's not really justifiable.
I hear you. I really respect your view to the point where it's making me think like, what if I can go this route too? Now, mind you, I interview quite a lot of people, so I do get like a flood of ideas. But I really respect where you're coming from, and I do think it's fantastic. So I'm gonna shift gears because there's a couple of other things I wanted to pick your brain about before we let you go. We got about maybe like 10 minutes, 10 maybe 15 minutes left. Before I get into like the more like the mindset philosophy stuff, here's one thing I wanted to ask you about, which is you challenge yourself to like make a. I just want to make sure I got my facts right. It was like 20,000 in sales without any Facebook ads. Was that right?
Yeah. That was right.
So can you tell us the story behind that? Because that's quite a lot of money for no Facebook ads.
Yeah, it was actually the strategy that when I talked earlier about the collaborating with independent artists. Yeah, I'm not going to go into too much detail about the strategy in this and here, but you can check it out on my channel. But it's all from that. So it was a clickbaity thumb. It was a good title, so I thought it would be cool. But yeah, it was actually true. You know, I did $21,000 I think in sales without any Facebook ads, just by collaborating with these independent artists, creating these products, and every single sale that I was getting was profitable, and that was my goal. But you know, if you're not buying ads, if you're doing it all manually, well, you're spending a lot of time and energy on it. And I wanted to move away from that, where you know the sales are taken care of by the ads, and then I'm more on the operational side of things.
Okay, yeah, and as you said, for our listeners, is definitely head on to the YouTube video to get the more in depth in that. I think I just want to point it out because I think it's cool to show just like what you're capable of, and
Thanks.
anytime.
Appreciate
That's what I'm here for. This is actually something. This is something I'm going to pull from your story from the beginning because I noticed that you had used the term signals, where like you were listening to other content and you were observing things, and these things signal towards you. Now, this is the first time that somebody has like used that terminology. I think it might be like a regional thing because different parts of the world have different uses for different terms. So I'm wondering where that idea comes from and like what is it exactly that you're using to
that.
observe signals?
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool that you brought that up. Now that I'm thinking about it, it comes from working closely with the algorithms of YouTube algorithm, Facebook algorithm, and from what I know, you know, the algorithm works is that if it receives good signals, I think that actual word might come from Sam Ovens, but basically if the algorithm receives good signals, you know, you're paying on time, the customers are happy, whatever, right? People are engaging with it. If the signals are green, then the algorithm is going to start improving. And I like to think of myself as an no way, no, I'm just kidding. I don't think of myself as an algorithm, but basically, yeah, I just kind of as I move through life, I like to think of this as, you know, whatever I'm doing, I kind of get a signal that okay, that's a good signal, that's a bad signal, and then I try to move towards more the green signals, basically.
Well, if you believe in predestination, then yes, we're all technically algorithms.
Yeah, maybe, but I just like to think of it that way.
So one question that I try to ask as often as possible on the show is a skill-based question, which is like you touched on what you're up to because I know you have a military experience, and I just want to there's a part of it I just want to make sure that I got, which is like two things. What did you think you were gonna do if not for e-commerce? Like, what path were you on? What were you working on? And then, with all of that in mind, what skills do you feel came with you when you entered into e-commerce?
Yeah, so before I entered e-commerce, to be honest, I was blind and I really didn't know what I was going to do. I come from a family of with a business background, so um, I always thought of myself that I'm going to just continue working on the family business, which is like manufacturing of frozen foods and ice cream. So I thought I'm going to do that, but I really didn't like the idea of being stuck to one place. As I said earlier, you know, I thought of myself as being a traveler, but I'm actually not. I actually like to be around one place. And plus the whole like factory and stuff is in Russia, and I didn't really want to be there. I wanted to be a person with like freedom to travel and stuff, and you know, live wherever I want. And so yeah, I didn't go that route. I went my own route, which is ecom, and with that came the skills One of the most important skills that came with that, well, in the past 4 or 5 years, is realization that things take longer than you think they are, and that perseverance is the single thing that determines whether you're going to get it done or not. With whatever it takes, with even just with putting together furniture, right? Because I'm doing that right now. Like putting together furniture, you might think that, okay, I have an instruction and then I'm just going to follow it, and it's simple as that. But even when you're putting it together with an instruction, you still come to a point where something is not working. And that's the moment it's not working, there is this critical moment where you either try for whatever it takes, 5 minutes, and you're like, oh, this is not working, you get frustrated and you just put it down and you're like, I'm going to do it later or whatever, I'm going to hire someone to do it for me. Or you develop this skill where you're like, no, it's like, I'm going to get this done no matter how much it takes. The other day I was fixing a trash bin in my house, and I was like, yeah, I was fixing it and it took me so long. But it's just a thing. It's a skill that I trained myself to not give up no matter, like, until it gets done. It's just a thing. It's a super like mind thing. But it's a great thing. It applies to so many, and you feel so much happier afterwards as well. You feel like the dopamine is kicking in because you actually, you got it done. It's like now achieved. So yeah, that's one of the most important things. Whenever you're doing it, just like, don't stop until it's done, and like just try, like, don't stop trying. Eventually you're going to figure out a small little thing. That little thing is going to lead to another one, and then eventually you'll come. And I also noticed that solutions are exponential as well. So it's like, for a long time you're trying many different things and nothing works, but then you hit that one little piece that really resonates with you, and then it just skyrockets.
That's great insight. And I think one of the issues is that when we're stuck in something that's challenging, it's tempting to want to go do something that actually like releases a dopamine. And what I've noticed, because this is a problem that I've run into a lot, is that when I do that, it actually makes it harder to come back to it afterwards, because I've gone into a more relaxed state, and then I have to like wind myself back up again and turn into more of that stress, but good stress state. So there is a lot of wisdom to that for sure.
And that's actually one of the things I learned from Ty. Coming back to that, he said in one of his things, I remember it till now. It was, the temptation to give up is greatest right before you're about to succeed. And that stuck with me till this day. And it like drives me every single day. Whatever I'm doing, I know that the temptation to give up is greatest right before I'm about to succeed. So when I'm super tempted, I'm like, okay, now instead of being like, oh, I don't want to do it, I'm like, now the solution starts like gonna come soon. And it's always like that.
Well, that's amazing, and I feel like we should really just wrap up on that note, because yeah, it's
Yeah.
just been great. Although, if you don't mind, there is one other video I wanted to ask you about, but this is more delicious, kind of like we'll decompress. We have some fun with this one. This is like your video about what are some things that you don't recommend people doing with their money. And going into that video, I thought it was going to be like, don't go to A&W too often, or don't smoke cigarettes. And then it turns out that it was what I would say is like excessive luxury, where people can really spend like a lot of money in a very short amount of time, like bottle
Yeah.
service and stuff like that. And so go check out the video. I spoiled one of them, but I'm not going to spoil the other two, because you had mentioned that you had done bottle service yourself, so you come from personal experience. So here's what I want to ask: is were there any positive takeaways from the bottle service? Like, did you have any insights? Did anything cool happen that actually was like a meaningful long term takeaway from it?
Yeah, I guess the biggest benefit I learned from that is that I need to be very careful with alcohol,
Yeah.
and that I am not that good at drinking. So, I have some friends who, the more they drink, like the crazier they get and the longer they can stay up and stuff like I don't know how to do it, but for me it's the opposite. I have this critical like limit where if I go over it, that's it. I just I either pass out, I fall asleep, or I black out. So if there's one good, and it happened when with that bottle service, I remember it was just horrible. I blacked out a couple of times. I don't remember how I got from the club home. I lost my money that I was supposed to pay for the club, and I bought basically the story here is that I had like 350 pounds in the GBP, and I was supposed to give that to my friends so they can pay for the club, for the bottle service, for the table, whatever. And instead, I got so drunk that when I went out of the club, I don't remember this. There was a guy, like those guys, like, hey, would you like to buy a rose for your lady? And I think what happened is that I ended up with like all these roses and no money. So yeah, maybe the biggest learning is that I'm not good with alcohol. So now I really like take it easy with that.
I've noticed that I'm not much of a drinker. My 20s are long gone, but I noticed that I would like get more pretentious the more I drank. Like I would I get more into like sitting upright and be like, yes, I do believe this is fantastic. Like I just turn into a total prick. So between that and like the feeling in my stomach the day after, yeah, it's interesting. Like, I mean, for people who've never touched the bottle, you're doing the right thing. But for people who have, I guess it's worth like looking back at those and just wondering what happens to my decision making process when I lose that process. So
yeah,
it can be fascinating in hindsight, but the better option is like one glass of wine with dinner at most, and we'll leave it at that. So George, usually the final question is like it's two parts. One is how people can get in touch with you, and the other is like if you have any parting wisdom or any answers to questions that I haven't asked. But I'd say between the perseverance question and the bottle service question, I think you've delivered. But just in case there's anything else you want to share with us, this is the chance to do it. And then after that, let the audience know how they can find you and get in touch.
In terms of a little piece of wisdom, I would probably say is that you need to, if you really want to do something, just you have to do it for a long time. Things take much longer than they seem on the front end. You might think like, oh, it's just, even if it comes to like dropshipping, e-commerce, you might think like, my thinking in the beginning was, oh, it's simple. Just the way the people say, just oh, here's a website, here's some ads, product, bam, bam, bam. It's all easy and stuff. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many things that go on the bottom of that. And yeah, it all comes really to first understanding that, okay, yes, I don't know yet, but I do understand that there are a lot more things coming. And then kind of committing yourself to it, right? You basically sit down and you think to yourself, yes, I know that there are a lot more things coming. I don't know what exactly they are, but I know they are coming, and I'm ready to tackle them, right? I'm ready to take them on. And that, and by accepting that, by telling yourself that, then you will be expecting those things to come, and you're going to be like, oh, wait, I committed to this, so I know it's coming. Okay, let's get this done, no matter how hard it might seem. That's also one of the things, kind of the recurring pattern for me over the last 5 years. Yeah, so I guess that's kind of the last piece of advice. I don't want to drag it on too long. And then for those of you who want to find me, my YouTube is George Vlasyev, and my Instagram is the same, George Vlasyev, just all together. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, terrific. Well, George, thank you once more for your time. This is a lot of fun, and thank you to our listeners as always for your attention and your engagement. You all know what to do, and we'll check in soon. Take care. Thanks for listening. You might have found this show on any number of platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, or right here on Debutify. Whatever the case, if you enjoyed this content and want to help us thrive, please take a few moments to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you think is best. We also want to hear from you, so whether you think you'd be a good guest or want to weigh in on anything related to our show, you can email podcast@debutify.com or connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Finally, this podcast is created by the passionate team at Debutify. If you're ready to take the plunge into e-commerce or are looking to up your game, head over to Debutify.com and see how it can change your life and the lives of many through what you do next.